Hello and welcome to the Marin-Sonoma Shop Local podcast, where we highlight local businesses, their products, and their services so that you can make the informed decision of where to shop local next. I'm your host, Kyle Masterpole, owner of The Bay Fitness and Sonoma and Senior Fitness, here today with the founder of Redefine Your Path Coaching, Jackie Da Costa, based in Tiburon. How are we doing today, Jackie?
I'm great, Kyle. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm excited to start our podcast today. I'm going to start with a
Thank
quick
you for
one
having
because
me.
I think you have a great niche based on your website in helping people who are, and you could correct me if I'm wrong in this, already a little bit into their careers, looking to redefine their path to success here. So tell me before we start, who should this podcast be geared towards to today?
Yeah, I work with a variety of people. It could be mid-career changers, but I've also worked with people just starting out in their career. Sometimes people start out in a career path, even if they're just a few years in, and they realize this is not for me and they need a little bit of help. So this is really for someone who's thinking about making a career change and just needs a little bit of a push to do it.
So let's dive a little deeper in, and what services do you provide?
Yeah, so I work with individuals in a variety of ways. So, as I mentioned already, kind of folks who are looking to transition careers, but I also do um, one off things, if someone needs interview prep or just a little bit of support along the way. Someone might just need a little bit of, maybe one or two sessions where they're lost their job. They want me to look at their resume and cover letter just to kind of give some pointers. I also work with people who are in kind of their earlier stage of like entering their career, as I'm certified in the strong interest inventory, which is another offering which can be great for high school and college students. With that tool, what it really helps them with is think about potential career paths. It gives them job titles based on who they are and what they're interested in, which I really find to be helpful. I've taken it 3 times throughout my career, and it's been interesting to kind of follow the trend, and I love to see it. And it provides a really tangible output for someone who has no idea what they want to do. So I find for high school and college students, sometimes parents come to me and say, I have a son or daughter who, they don't know what they want to do after graduation, and it's a great resource for them. So I also do that as well.
That's phenomenal. I didn't know you worked with clients that young.
Yeah.
Well, you've worked with a ton of people in a bigger age range than I thought then. So can you tell me a time where you were blown away by a client's reaction to working with you?
Yeah. So recently, what comes to my mind is I've been working with someone, she's a teacher, and while she loves it, I think she's, like many teachers after the pandemic, are feeling really burnt out. And she's really looking for a career that either, she has more flexibility. So she's been considering kind of doing her own business or potentially exploring a different career path. And I think she really wants to go down the business route, but she's had a lot of fear around it. And one of the things that we've been really working on with her specifically is kind of visioning and planning and helping her kind of see what's possible. And what I think blew me away is recently after one of our sessions, she just out of the blue kind of shared with me how much I've really helped her. And I get positive feedback. I ask for reviews after, the end of my work with someone just to make sure that I am giving them the impact that they're looking for. But the fact that she brought it up to me and just out of the blue kind of shared how much I've helped her with mindset shifts, that I'm really helping her see that creating the business is possible, I think was such a big compliment to me and just meant really so much. So I think that was really a moment where I was like, wow, you took, I must have really impacted you for you to take the time to say that to me. And so that just brought a lot of joy to me.
Love it. The compliments from our clients really make everything worth it.
They do. Yeah. It's at the end of the day why I do this work. I love helping people, and that's really my motivation for doing this work.
And we talked about this off air, how there's been so many layoffs over the past 3 to 4 years. They keep continuing to happen. And that was one of the reasons why I thought you'd be a great fit for the podcast. So, can you talk about, and you can make up a theoretical, you could talk about someone you've already worked with, but let's say someone who's been laid off is looking to work with you. what are some of the steps you take to help them find where they want to go next after that and helping them on their journey to that next step?
Yeah, so some steps I might take is, for one, we need to start out and figure out, do you want to stay doing what you're doing? If so, that path would look different than if someone's like, I've been working as an engineer, but I've realized that I really want to go into sales or, start my own business, whatever that might be. So for someone who's just, looking to kind of stay in the same track, we could do some interview prep. They might need some resume review and refresh, those kinds of kind of more basic things. A lot of the times, especially if someone's been in a career for a while, they're rusty on interviewing, so they just might need support. I think the career transitioner, and if someone's considering, doing something different, that requires a little bit more. The coaching pieces, a little bit more longer work. We would do kind of everything that I outlined, but also really just digging into what they want to do. So I think that's a big thing in kind of career transitions, is really thinking about what you want to do, what skills you have. And a lot of the times it also requires just creating a story around why you want to pivot, how you're qualified for the new role, etc. So I really help people come up with that narrative and gain the confidence that they are qualified. It's interesting because you think sometimes if you go from, maybe like an engineering role to marketing or something, that there's not as many transferable skills. But when you break it down into actual skill sets, a lot of skills do actually transfer, and it's really helping people come up with that story around how they are qualified, what experiences they've had. And so I love helping people with that, because a lot of the times they're unconfident when we started out our work together. And so if someone, especially after a layoff, I think the one thing that I've noticed, I've had a few friends and clients who've gone through layoffs, and even if it's something around, just company financials, the company's not doing well, it still somehow impacts someone's confidence. So there is also work that we do together to kind of help boost their confidence again and make them feel like, I am qualified, I am a strong candidate. And so helping them kind of get over that hurdle too is something we focus on as well.
That's super important too, because I've met a number of people who have been laid off for one reason or another, and they talk about, my confidence was crushed and whatever they were doing, it was like they left that job, and like that brought me down so much that I questioned whether I was cut out, whether I was going to be the right fit for people, or if I should leave it to others. So that is amazing that you're helping them. And would you say, in kind of helping them create their narrative or improve their narrative, that you're helping them, and I'm thinking of too how you said if they're going to switch careers, would you say that helps them with more of their target market? Because a lot of times if you're too broad, people aren't sure exactly what you do. So would you say in that career change you help them with that niche or target market that they're creating in their career move?
Definitely. We do work to kind of talk through what is the ideal company that you want to work for. I think starting out with an overall kind of career and life vision is kind of the first thing to really help people understand. Maybe they're looking for more balance with their kind of career transition. Sometimes for working parents, balancing a really stressful job can be hard, and so sometimes the pivot might be into something where they have a little bit more flexibility to be with their families, or focus on whatever family needs they might have, or other personal things that might be coming up. So really starting out with that life and career vision. How does the career fit into your life vision, and what kind of life you want to have? Do you want a job that allows you to work remotely? So kind of starting out with those overall like ideal things. I also have clients go through exercises around what are their must and can't have. So, for example, thinking through, for some people, especially if they've had really bad leadership in past organizations, leadership could be a really top criterion for them. So, thinking about all of those different factors that someone needs to think through. So, I help them come up with that list. Another must have could obviously be salary for someone, just depending on or promotion. So I help them come up with that kind of list of that, also thinking through then what types of companies fit in with that. And I help walk them through, how you find those types of organizations, the tools, etc. So it is really a whole process to help them kind of create their ideal profile of the type of organization that they want to work for and to help them kind of narrow it down from there.
You're very insightful for your clients. It's great to see.
Oh,
It feels like you're very adaptive and you help them explore themselves. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it seems like you
yeah.
really help them dig deep to find down to every detail what it is that they're going to be interested in. Because if you're not happy with what you're doing, then it's probably going to be short lived. So it seems like you do really good at taking a deep dive to these clients to help them find the perfect scenario for themselves.
Yeah, and I love to work with people who are willing to do that, to spend the time doing that. Because some people come to me and, they've been laid off, they want to find a job immediately, and they also want to transition. And, I'll, just be honest, like doing a transition, and like a career pivot is, after a job layoff is really hard. It's one of the harder scenarios. It can be done. It just takes time because you need to take time to reflect, and not everybody does that. And I've seen that a little bit with some people that I've worked with who are kind of in a rush, which I totally understand. We all need to make livings, and so I kind of like to come up with different ideas and help my clients brainstorm about, is there something else you can do, like temporary in the interim while you're kind of exploring, or, maybe there's consulting work, different things. So there are different options that people can consider. But I love working with people who really are interested in spending the time because I think it's going to lead them to ultimate greater satisfaction in their career and their job in the long term when they really take the time to reflect instead of just jumping from one thing to the next, where they're not really evaluating all those things that are important to them. And then they end up in a job that they're not happy with, and they, haven't thought about those kinds of things. So I love doing that work with people.
Yeah, and that happens far too often. It reminds me, I was just at, it's called North Bay Next. Marin-Sonoma Impact Ventures throws this event for Marin and Sonoma based founders. And I talked to a number of people who, you're at an event for marketing yourselves, meeting new founders, trying to build ideas together. And there are a number of people who are like, look, I quit my job. Here's what I did. I'm going to start a business somewhere surrounding that. Might go this direction, might go that direction. I don't know. And I'm thinking of all these people as I'm talking to you, and you would have been a great fit to speak at that conference. But how you can help them kind of find exactly where they want to narrow in on, because a lot of these people, more often than not, they've been in their career for 20 plus years, and they're like, you know what, I've done XYZ, I've built this and that, and now it's time to go do it on my own, and I just need to figure it out. So I think you are great to slide
Yeah.
right in there and help them find exactly what it is that they're going to get themselves into. But before they sign up with you, I got asked what sets you apart from other career coaches. And I'm going to chime in one more time there and say that I think, kind of going back to that same concept of this conference that was just for Marin and Sonoma founders, I think you are a step ahead of others simply because in a local market, you'd want someone local. And I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, definitely that. I think also, I've done career changes. So before I became a career coach, I worked for 10 years in the corporate insurance and nonprofit space. I worked in risk management. I've then worked in the nonprofit space, and, now coaching. And so I've done the transition successfully, and I know how hard it can be. When I transitioned from corporate to nonprofit, I was the person that moved home with my parents temporarily, and they were kind enough to let me live with them to kind of, as I adjusted to my new income. That's the unfortunate, like, reality sometimes of, career shifts, not all the time, but sometimes you do have to take the temporary kind of income adjustment to get back on the path. I was able to figure it out. I did budgets before to really figure out, like, what do I actually need to make? And so I went through a whole process to really prepare for that. But I've done it, and so I know how it feels. When you're in the midst of a transition, you're getting maybe the screening call, but not moving forward to the first round, and then it's the feedback of, oh, well, you don't have the experience, and then you're kind of baffled. So I think that sets me apart. I think also just my diverse experiences really sets me up to support people in different ways. I also do a little bit of work in terms of kind of career advancement for people who, maybe they're struggling to figure out how to advance in their career, or they're struggling with a difficult manager. I've led teams. I've worked with a variety of different challenging personalities. So, and, learned through my own kind of coaching benefits and program that I went through how to kind of navigate those situations. So I think just given the varied experience that I have in multiple industries and a variety of situations really sets me apart. Also, I don't force people into packages. Some coaches really, it's I have this standard package. I do really try to be adaptable to what people's needs are and not force people into you must do 6 sessions with me. Not everybody needs a fixed amount. And, I try to be flexible for people. Okay, so you've lost your job. Like, I understand maybe you just need 1 or 2 sessions. I'm willing to kind of be flexible to people's kind of needs. And then I also have other resources if someone's, really, not able to pay, I can refer them to other places and great organizations that I trust and know well. So I think I just have such a varying skill set that really helps people.
I love that you're not pushing people to do more and more and more. And I try to follow that suit as well. And that if you want to pay session by session for my services, you're free to do so. You give your guidelines and you work together and you find the best plan. And that's a great way to go
Yeah.
about it because some people don't want to feel boxed in. And when they do, it makes you less effective, whether or not you did a good job because they felt pressured. So it's good that you're just there to support them on their journey. And whatever you two come up with together, you're going to find a way.
Yeah, and sometimes people they'll say, "Okay, I want to do 4 sessions maybe to start out." And I get it, maybe they're just getting to know me, so they want to test things, and then they realize the impact and support that they're getting through our work together, and then they want to do more. So that's why I do also just try to be flexible to, what people really need. Also,
So let's say I've had my first session with you. We went over
yeah.
everything you go over. I'm not going to try to pretend I know exactly what you're going over in your first session together. What are the next steps from there? Is there a follow up? Do they have homework? How do you help them continue on beyond that first call?
Yeah. So I usually do give homework. Also, there's an accountability piece that we talk about. So, who can help them like keep on track. It's a great way to kind of also have people have community as they're, making change, going through a career transition, especially can be a little bit of a lonely process. And so if you involve people who love and care about you, who want to see you happy, it can be a nice way also to kind of fill that in. So we do homework assignments. In the next session, we'll check in on progress. If they've struggled to make progress, we kind of dig into that. So yes, and I customize that based on what the person needs specifically. So for my kind of career transition package, we do sometimes follow like a specific track in terms of, okay, we're starting out with like you looking into organizations or learning how to research companies, those kinds of things. But it can be really customized to each person.
I saw you have some group offerings on your website. How does that work? Is that you have like a set time that you do like a Zoom roundtable kind of thing, or is it groups of people that have specifically booked to be together and do this with you? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I that's a fairly new offering for me. I decided to start it in response to kind of a lot of the outreach I was getting from people who'd been laid off, who are looking to do a career transition, but maybe doing one-on-one coaching just quite isn't in their budget. So I do a very similar process to what we would do one-on-one. It's just in a group. So we would focus on, their values to begin with, what's important to them, types of organizations, research methods. So each session is really a different focus. They will get homework and then have to come back and kind of report out on what they've done. It also involves kind of working, with other people, do breakout rooms sometimes so people can kind of do one-on-one sharing. And the other benefit that I found through that is really the community. As I mentioned, sometimes when you're navigating a career transition, it can feel really lonely for people that maybe they have friends and family who aren't supportive of the transition. And so, or, just don't understand why they're making the transition. So having a community of people who are also navigating, similar transition or something, big in their life, like a career transition, it can be really nice to just also have a network as part of it. So I love that piece of it too.
That's a good point. When I first started my businesses, I reached out to people in a similar field and a similar position just to be like, how did you start this? Where did you go? How long did it take? And it felt good to have that support, especially when you start from zero. There are a lot of question marks in your
Oh,
head pretty much 24 hours a day. So it's good to create a community for people who have others going through the same thing, because it's like, right, my journey isn't, I'm not off the tracks and just rogue right now. It is a journey, it is a process, and I'm right alongside these other people who are doing the same thing.
and it could also be natural networking,
That's a
right? Like,
good
say
point.
someone's worked at Apple and someone wants to get into Apple, or vice versa, or, someone has a friend who works at this company that, someone within the class is trying to get into, or has worked in that career field. Like, it's a great way to, I've noticed one thing that, like, I really encourage people to do, but a lot of people are hesitant to do, is like reach out for informational kind of chats to learn about career tracks. And I think, especially in these, like, people are coming from different backgrounds. So, you just never know. Like, it would be an easier way to practice, I think, informational interviewing as well, with someone that's like, but maybe not super well. So it's a great way to kind of start dipping your toe in that area, which is another area that I really try and encourage my clients to do as they're exploring.
Love it. So you've worked with people from their first jobs, elevating themselves in their current positions, switching careers and going into new jobs, whether it's another corporate business or starting their own business. So through all of this experience, one person, what is the best compliment a client has given you?
Um, it's hard to pick one. I would say the best one is just that I really help them shift their mindset and that I help them. I mean, to me, anytime I hear that I've helped somebody, it just brings me, in general, great satisfaction and joy. My kind of a purpose that I've set out is to make a difference in this world, through my coaching business, and just help people. So anytime I hear that, it just makes me
What's funny is I generally always ask that question, and the most genuine responses I get and the most heartfelt are pretty much the most basic ones, where it's just, I just love helping people
happy.
and making the difference, but like you can feel how much they mean it. It's funny because
Yeah.
I think when that's asked, you hope for a big story, and it's, what I just garnered from your response. And I don't mean this negatively, as simple and basic as it was, I asked you about your favorite compliment about yourself, and you didn't make it about yourself. You made it about your clients. It's about helping them. So I can appreciate that if I'm working with you, it's not about a notch in your belt. It's about a difference being made for that human being that has reached out to you for help.
Yeah, that's really my personal goal. Like, I've always worked in careers that have been some kind of helping, customer service, nonprofit, and coaching. And I think what's always been driving me is like the desire to help people. And, even if it's something little that I can do, it's like, oh, if I know someone, like, I'm happy to make a connection. It's just part of who I am. And, I mean, it's kind of selfish in a way, actually, because it just brings me joy knowing that I've helped people. So, yeah.
Well, we are going to move on to our next segment, from helping people to now helping some local businesses here, because we're moving on to our local rapid
Yeah.
fire segment. And because you're a Tiburon based business, I'm going to ask you questions about your favorite spots and things to do in Tiburon. So we are going to start with your favorite place to eat. Could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, whatever pops into your head first.
It's hard to pick one. I would say my favorite on a sunny day is Sam's or Malibu Farms in Tiburon. Those are my two kind of favorite go-to spots in Tiburon.
Okay. What's your favorite view in Tiburon?
Oh, the favorite view. There's a lot of them, so it's hard to pick one. I walk along the Tiburon Trail quite often, so all the views along there are amazing. But we did go to dinner at the Caprice recently, and it was a really beautiful day. You could see into the city, and I think because they're like a little bit further down on the peninsula, they have kind of this amazing view of Angel Island. There was like sailboats out that day, so it was just a really beautiful view, and it was in the evening, so the sun was setting. So I would say that's like one of the best places I think for a clear summer day when you can kind of get that view from there.
I'm going to steal that idea and surprise my wife with a dinner date now. So thank you for that. Selfishly, that
Oh
one was
yeah,
for me, I
of course.
guess.
I love it. Well, I'm glad to help.
What's your favorite event or festival in Tiburon?
Oh, they have a wine festival in the fall, and that one's really fun. Growing up, I think in Sonoma County and just being around wine, I always love trying different places, and it's fun because they have a bunch of different wineries come, and there's food. So I'd say that's my favorite one.
I haven't been, but I've heard a lot about it. And now, other than your own, what's your favorite Tiburon based business?
My favorite Tiburon-based business. Um, well, I've already talked about Sam's and Malibu Farms, but I'd say, I don't know. I love to eat out. My boyfriend and I enjoy that, so I'd say one of those two are my favorites. Just the staff is always really great. The views are amazing, so those are, I think, my top.
What's something you haven't done in Tiburon that's on your wish list?
There's a trail that goes along the ridge that I haven't. It's I think Ring Mountain Trail. So my boyfriend and I really like to hike, and we haven't walked the full thing yet. So I'm excited to still try that
Well, I know a good personal trainer if you need any help building up your stamina to do so. You could
out.
just visit thebayfitness.com if you
Yes.
or any of the listeners were interested there. It's a little shameless plug for myself. Where can our listeners find you once we're done with this podcast here today?
LinkedIn is a great way to find me. So I'm on LinkedIn. Also, my website is redefineyourpathcoaching.com. My email is also Jackie at redefineyourpathcoaching.com. So either of those ways are great. I do more of my content on LinkedIn just given the career nature of things. So that's a
And
great
I'll
way to
put the
find
links
me.
for each of those in the description. So whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Podcastle, or watching on YouTube, look down at the description and you'll find all those links to get to Jackie. And this podcast is all about highlighting local businesses in Marin and Sonoma County. So we're going to hop out of Tiburon. And any Marin or Sonoma County business that you think deserves an extra special shout out.
It's hard to pick one. I grew up in Sonoma County, so love so many businesses there. But when I was thinking about my favorite, there's this taqueria in Terra Linda called Sonora Taqueria. It's no frills restaurant, but the food is amazing. I've eaten burritos in a lot of places around the Bay Area, and I personally think they have some of the best burritos in the Bay Area, and they're not, a well-known restaurant, but it's family run. They're always, really nice when you go in there, and so I would love to give them kind of a shout out. Go try one of their burritos.
That's wonderful.
Actually, all of their food is really good, but the burritos are my favorite.
And is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you wanted to speak about with our listeners before we log off?
I would say, something to think about is just, you can navigate a career transition on your own. It is possible, but I think having a coach there is really helpful. As I already mentioned, kind of going through the process can be challenging if you don't have people in your life who are supporting you, or, you just don't have kind of the network of folks. So really as a coach, I'm there to be your cheerleader, the enthusiast, the person who's going to give you, kind of unbiased feedback. And so, as you think about whether or not a career coach is the right fit for you and, why you should think about one. I think that's something to really think about is, as people navigate career changes, it's easy to give up, right? Because it can be a hard process. And so you have someone there keeping you accountable to your goals and really helping you move forward. I think that's really the benefit of hiring a coach. So kind of think about that. And, if any of this has inspired you, please feel free to reach out to me. I do offer a free kind of discovery call, so I'm happy to chat with anyone to see if I might be a good fit.
Well, thank you so much for stopping on today. And again, we'll put your links in the description so that they can go reach out to you, book that free discovery call to see if Jackie is a good fit for you. And I think I speak for many when I say thank you for the care you put into people during many it's difficult times, whether you're a stressed high school or college student trying to find your first job, or you've been laid off, you're trying to find that new path and you need someone to care. I appreciate the thought and the care that you do put in to everything you do. It's very clear and evident.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure.
And that is it from this episode of the Marin-Sonoma Shop Local podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Masterpool, and I will see you next time.